Hi, welcome to I Unlimited, committed to helping you find your best self and inner peace. Hello, fellow travelers. Once again today, I was inspired to work with this deck, the Mystical Journey Oracle. When I looked over at the decks, this one almost seemed to have a spotlight on it. And as I was shuffling the cards, a couple of them came out and really spoke to me. Well, they always do, don't they? The first one I saw was called Compassion, with the two swans, I believe. And the next one was Cycles of Life. And as I looked at this, the very first message I got from this is having compassion, having a loving, compassionate, supportive relationship with ourself. How radical is that for so many of us, right? And how many of us see that lesson over and over and over, right? But first of all, having grace, having compassion with ourselves. And as I say, if you're like me, there's kind of lessons over and over and over, or kind of the same message, right? So interesting, the other one is Cycles of Life. And as I looked at it, noticing these, what appear to be circular rings. So it isn't, initially what my mind thought of was, kind of the aging process as different years, we're in different stage of our life. But this being the cycle, and how many times do we find ourselves saying like, I've been through this already. Haven't I learned that lesson already? Why am I back here again? Why do I feel this way again in another bad relationship, or I'm depressed again, or, a job that doesn't work out? Have compassion as we go around. It's not that we're doing anything wrong, but you're never back to where you were before. You notice all these rings are slightly different placements, right? You're not just going around on one track over and over and over and over. Think of it as if it's a mountain with a road on it, and the road goes all the way around the mountain, right? As it's going higher and higher and higher. So yes, as you keep ascending and going up that mountain, yes, you come around that same side of the mountain repeatedly. You see that same vista, but not exactly, because you're seeing it from a different height. So as we go through life, yes, there are going to be familiar circumstances that we find ourselves in repeatedly, but we're not the same person, right? So the first thing, rather than beat ourselves up like we've done something wrong, or feeling like we've been abandoned by the divine because we're in this again, have compassion for self, for the divine. Only when we can have the compassion can we be available to see what other lessons are there for us to learn, what other growth there is. I just heard a quote yesterday that I found very compelling. And it said, without challenge, there is no change. Well, if I want to get technical about it, things change all the time. Every moment is different, and things are going to change because other people can create change that impacts our lives, right? But, it makes for a very powerful quote. But when I really thought about it, and it inspired me, don't get me wrong, I'm not trying to pick apart someone's quote, because it really took my breath away for a second. But when I looked at it as without challenge, there's no progress, right? So sometimes going around and around that mountain, you're going up. You're having to push yourself, push past that moment when you're tired, but you're making progress. If you stop and you don't challenge yourself to keep going, you're making no progress. So doing the same old all the time won't have us progress in our lives, whether it's toward a goal we want, externally, or, peace in our heart, right? And especially, as I've been saying, we're heading into the holidays. They can be challenging times. We're always pushed to have compassion, show compassion for others. You never know what they're going through. Absolutely true. Absolutely true. We can have compassion for others. I don't believe that that means at the expense of self, at the expense of your inner peace, right? So we can have compassion. It's just like with a child that's, pitching a fit over something. We can have compassion as to how frustrating that must be for them, how disappointing. However, if what they want is something that we know is going to harm them, we're still going to hold that line, right? But we can have the compassion, and we can give them empathy and love, right? While still holding the line, the boundary that we feel is the most beneficial and healthy. Well, we can do the same thing for ourselves, right? We can have compassion for someone. Having compassion for another does not mean we have to become a doormat for them, right? So we can have compassion while we're leaving distance there, creating distance there, putting up boundaries, right? It also doesn't give us, carte blanche to walk on others. So the compassion, you notice the swan, the lights, the beauty. It's a matter of, what does our heart need right in that moment? You notice over here, there's eyes back here looking. And that's even our divine sense, our divine intuition, looking over ourselves, looking at ourselves from a greater perspective, a divine perspective, even as we're here in this life going through earth, right? Or this life on earth. So if we can practice that, looking at ourself, at our life, at what is needed, what we're experiencing, what's the lesson available, right? What is driving this forward? If it's something, undesirable, challenge ourselves for that change, that progress. Not, oh, I'm going to run up that mountain, without ever stopping. No, you don't have to. Remember the tortoise and the hare, but one step. One more step up that mountain is one more step, and that's progress. So if we take a divine perspective, that automatically is going to bring with it compassion for others and for self. Sometimes, I know at least for me, I can probably show greater compassion and empathy when I do have distance from another, because sometimes just that closeness is, I want to say almost claustrophobic, but it becomes a chaotic energy maybe. And you get into the swirl of dancing with that, right? If we're not able to stay in our peace. So whatever we need to do to be able to stay in a divine, peaceful state, right? Isn't that compassion? Isn't that giving grace? And isn't that helping us take another step? Because if we're in a world of chaos, we're not in the divine. So as we can stay there and see our own lives from that perspective, what's going on, what's available, what do I need right now, and trust. Look at the trust. Look at the light that's shining. So when we take that, combining these two, as we go through cycles repeatedly, and just, okay, there's something more for me to learn here. Who am I today? What is something new I can bring here? And at the same time, what is there for me to learn? What lesson to take away from here? Right? And doing it all from a higher perspective. simplest, quickest way I've found so far to access this is through that breath work, right? It's also the quickest, easiest way to help untie that grip of the burdens or the chaos or the fears or whatever negative experience or emotion you may have. Just the burdens, right? Sometimes of our past, of our thoughts. And so just take nice, gentle breaths, but take them in slowly, counting in your mind. Count to 4, 5, 6 if you can. Hold it for a beat or two, and then exhale to that same 4, 5, or 6. You may find as you keep doing a few breaths, you can extend that a little more. As you're breathing in, visualize that air coming all through you, almost like through a screen in a window. If you see yourself that way, that each cell is individual, as you breathe in, see yourself expand out. Feel it. Feel you expand to the point that you crack and break that shell of burden that's been surrounding you. Allow every cell to move apart, have a little more distance. And as you exhale, you release any of the burden, any of the negativity, any of the fears or darkness that got stuck. Because as you allow those cells and molecules to expand and have greater distance from each other, have more room, more space in your being, all that stuff now is loose and able to be released with the exhale. See it go, feel it go, and then as you breathe in, visualize you're pulling in that divine light from all around you. Pull it in through you, going through every space between every cell now, cleansing and restoring every space, every cell, every molecule. And as you breathe out, as you've cleared out anything that you can clear out, now after you breathe in all that light, as you exhale, spread that light. You don't have to hoard it and hold on to it. There's plenty. There's way more than enough for all of us. And you doing that is the greatest gift you give yourself and others. Spreading divine light, love, and energy. And you can do 3 breaths, 5 breaths, 3 minutes, whatever. But feel your muscles relax. Allow your shoulders, the back of your tongue. And once you relax those, you'll find that relaxation cascade right down your body. And then you're not armed for defense. You're relaxed. So now you can listen. And as you have a few minutes of that breathing, and now just after you've done that a few times, you feel you've cleared. Now you can breathe normally and listen. Listen in your heart for the guidance, for your next steps. To be your fullest, greatest self. And until next time, you keep shining your light.
I hope this video helped you rise higher and shine brighter. Keep going. Invest just a few minutes here with me each day, and you'll see your happiness, fulfillment, and inner peace grow. Please remember to share, like, and subscribe to this channel so others can find their best selves in inner peace too.